Ladies and gentlemen, today a review of Weapons, starring Garner Josh Brolin, and directed by Zach Cregger. Here's a description from IMDb. When all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanishes on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. I had a surprisingly good time with this movie. I was really expecting to be really scared, but at the end of the day, this isn't a crazy out-and-out horror movie. This is really a mystery thriller ensemble piece that has a little bit of Pulp Fiction storytelling. There is horror aspects to this movie for sure, and some of those horror aspects are really well done and super scary. This just isn't the scariest horror movie I've seen this year, to be quite honest with you. But it's important for me to judge this movie for what it is and not what I thought it was going to be. And what this movie was a fun thrill ride through the small town underbelly, where you really start to understand many characters and the way they interact. In this movie, you are flowing through the mystery through the perspective of many characters. And many characters and many perspectives. Julie does a fantastic job here in a role that she rarely plays. She actually did mention this in an interview while I was researching this movie. I saw that she loves horror movies because it's where you can kind of stretch your muscle in ways you can't stretch your muscle in other genres. And she definitely did that in this movie. She plays a character I've never seen her play before, but she was absolutely wonderful at it. Josh Brolin did a wonderful job here. He plays one of the fathers of the missing children, and his journey through this is all about him trying to figure out what happened to his son. And he is all consumed by it. I think Zach Cregger did a wonderful job of blending all those aspects together. And what is the outcome of that is a very taut thriller, and I can see why those aspects are the reason this movie is so loved at this moment. Also, there is subtext here that is really about our society at large and how we are treating child tragedies and protecting our children in schools, and also the lack thereof. And I think all those aspects wrapped up together make the core of this really smart take on a genre picture horror movie. I do want to shout out one of the kids here, and I may be a spoiler here, but he does an incredible job and he deserves to be shouted out. It's a young child who plays Alex in the movie. His name is Christopher. He does an incredible job. What he is asked to do in this film is insane. Now, if I was to judge this movie as a horror movie, this is where my criticisms really do lie. As a horror film, was I scared the entire time? No. Was I enthralled? Yes. But were there good jump scares here? 100%. There were definitely some good jump scares here and there, but they were mostly relegated to the beginning and the very end of the movie, where the horror aspects of this horror movie really start to show themselves and the nature of exactly what's happening starts to reveal itself. And those aspects are genuinely amazing, terrifying, gut-wrenchingly sad and macabre as well. And I thought that those aspects really did crescendo a already fantastically crafted movie here. But I do think those elements were a little bit too few and far between, and I appreciated the mystery we were on and the stories that were being told, but I do think that some of the stories were a little bit too long in the tooth. And it took us a little bit too long to really get to the morsel of what's happening here. I genuinely do feel if they would have cut like a half hour of this movie, it would have been a little more tighter and a little bit more effective for what I think it was trying to do, for sure. It's difficult for me to talk about the specifics of this movie because there's so much involved with the mystery of this movie that just gives too much away that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to say too much of the specifics, obviously, because this movie is just really wrapped up in the mystery and I don't want to give too much away. But there is a character towards the end of the movie that becomes revealed, and when that person becomes revealed and you start seeing the things that they're doing, it really starts to put together what's happening in a really kind of fresh way that I really enjoyed. And I appreciated the performance of this person. And I don't want to say too much, but it's just an interesting way to put together what's happening here. But there is subtext for this character at the beginning of the movie that you get as soon as you see who this character is revealed. And it's little things like that and little instances like that that really kind of put together this really well-made film. I give Weapons an 8.5 out of 10. A really fun, mystery thriller that is a little less scary than you would think it is. It puts together great performances from an ensemble cast here, led by Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, that enthralls you and is a genuine fresh take on a really horrifying concept, for sure. There's a little bit of subtext here about the way we treat children in our society and how we're protecting them that I also think is very poignant and elevates the story to a point that really hits really close to home. There are horror elements to this movie, but I think they're a little few and far between, and I genuinely thought this movie was going to be a lot scarier than I actually ended up feeling. But alas, the story and subtext that is brought to us, that subject is so horrifying in and of itself. It's super enthralling and really hits close to home, for sure. I thought there were fantastic performances all around, including some of the young children who do some fantastic work. I do feel that some of the mystery thriller aspects were a bit long in the tooth, and we are sitting with some characters a little bit too long that I thought that this movie really could have had at least about a half-hour cut from it and would have really made it a super taut mystery horror thriller. But what we are left with is a fantastic film that is a little topical, a little horror, and a little mystery. I really had a great time. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far to the video, I truly, truly appreciate you. Please comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think of my review, what you think about this movie, and if there are any other movies like this that you would like me to see. Thank you so much for watching.